One of those, let's see how long this one lasts. Overall, most everyone raves about the locker room atmosphere in TNA compared to recent years in WWE or the final years of WCW. Dixie Carter is well liked because she gives positive feedback to the wrestlers from top to bottom of the card.
That's a TNA wrestler. It's quoting.
We feel appreciated, says one TNA wrestler. You just don't get that feeling in other places. The downside is that wrestlers feel frustrated with everyone fitting into slots and there being no real sense of upward mobility for them or decreased push for Jeff Jarrett, no matter what the TV ratings, crowd response, or performance quality.
Yeah.
There are also some who believe there is arrogance from those who have been in WWE before, which divides the locker room at times.
It's insane. I mean, like, I guess this is just a byproduct of there being one game in town forever. That's like, this is a thing that is still happening in 2023.
Yeah, the number of talking points we've hit on this just random episode or a random month of TNA from January 2006 that's still directly applied to the way people talk about AEW or the way people in AEW talk about AEW is just almost uncanny.
Well, that's the thing is, like, we there's a lot of, like, obvious negatives to one company ruling all. That, like, you can see and you feel every time you look at something in wrestling. But you have to think it, like, there's gonna be these offshoot things that come from that as well. These offshoot negatives that come from that as well that you don't notice unless these specific circumstances happen. And how often do you get a major second promotion popping up, right? Like, one every decade and a half at this point. So it's like, of course we don't see the correlation between that because there hasn't been that many instances of that.
And there is always going to be the people who are there at the start of the company who like got it off the ground, and then the people who jump on board when it's successful, and the conflict that will exist between those groups, and like the cultural fit between those groups, and maybe the thing that TNA was is not the thing that TNA is. So some of the people that were there when TNA was feel out of place, and the people who came there when it's successful are like, well, what am I meant to do?
Like, the lesson to be learned from these two instances, I think, is you have to remain loyal to the people that got you there.
Well, I think it's just find the right balance.
I'm not saying never bring anyone in. I'm saying be sparing and make sure that they are contributing to the existing culture.
Yeah, it is think about the cultural fit and then be like, do we need Shannon Moore?
And part of that may be turning down people that you think might be good for you because they will upset the environment.
And it's not like a problem yet in current TNA, where I think the current TNA roster is probably still closer to being too small than too big.
Yeah, there's a handful.
As when I say current TNA, I mean 2005. But as opposed to AEW, where it's
yeah, you're gonna have to specify now.
I know, it was so much easier when it was Impact. But as opposed to AEW, where like the roster size probably got to the point of being too big in like 2021. And everyone you added to after that, it's like that's just more mouths to feed with. Even with more TV time, it's just you still have so many mouths to feed that you don't have enough to go around. And all wrestlers ultimately want to do, it was the exact same thing that happened in like 2018 WWE when they hired everybody on Earth and did not have something for everybody on Earth to do, and then loads of people got really frustrated and upset and weren't happy at work because wrestlers want to wrestle. Wrestlers really enjoy wrestling. It's not like the 90s where like there's guys who would take a 6-figure paycheck from WCW and be like, I am happy cashing this as long as they're willing to give it to me.
Yeah, there's not many people who will take a job and just be like happy and want to be team players. Like you'll get them. But there's not many, especially stars or people who think they're stars, that will have that attitude. Most of the time, people that have that attitude, you don't want to pick up because they don't have much value.
Yeah, and I remember like Mike Bennett. I remember interviews after he left WWE where he wasn't like, I want to be pushed, I want to be a star, I want to be this, I want to be that. He was just like, I just want to wrestle. I just want to actually be on TV and wrestle. And like that's not like this extreme demand from a dude. He just wants to like work a place and work. And I think a lot of wrestlers are like that, where they just want to do a thing and be happy with the thing they're doing.
You're always gonna be like a little more. If I were running a company that's like at the level of a TNA now or a AEW now, I would be like, there's a difference between asking for your release and getting fired. Because asking for your release shows intent, and like obviously I don't think you should write off just anyone who got fired, that you should weigh up the pros and the cons. But it's like, if like you know that there's an attitude of I want to do this from the people who are like not happy with never being on TV.